Greetings, Hotep, Shalom, Salam. This is Michael Kahn, journalist, author, activist, and revolutionary. And I'm basically going to give you a little more background about what I've gone through, who I am, what I'm about, and just to let you know the full story, what's going on with me for the past 35 years or so. First of all, let me give you a real quick tell you about my childhood. I was brought up by my mother, who taught in urban Patterson kids, black kids in an urban area. My dad had worked for the Black Panthers, took me to see Martin Luther King when I was about 5 years old. He taught in the Bronx in New York City. And my mom taught in Patterson, New Jersey, a poor neighborhood, very poor, ghetto. So she told me, and they were not rich, they were divorced. My dad did not pay child support. I basically, my mom had to take care of us all by herself. Me and my sister, she had to take care of us by herself. She did not even have a high school diploma. So she went to work full time, went to college, became a teacher, all raising us kids herself. Never went on welfare except for 2 months of food stamps, but she was never on welfare. So give her credit. And I always grew up with secondhand clothing, no toys. We had one little black and white television, no air conditioning, so it got hot in the summer. So, one car, an old car. So you get it. We were lower middle class. We were not rich. But I lived well. I had great morals. I was brought up having some knowledge of what is right and wrong. I remember as a youth, I was, growing up at the time of the hippies and then, the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War. And I saw from, even as a kid, that going to war was not good, that our government lies, that the military is not good, they're murderers. So I was never really fooled. I was a rebel back then, the hippie civil rights rebel, against the establishment, against materialism, against all the lies. I was well aware, even as a kid. My mom was a bit of an activist. She had hippies coming over, communes and dope and all this. I smoked marijuana as a child, and I was not laughing symbolism. Get this. It was a green, leafy substance. I put in a little wrapping paper, in rolling paper, and smoked like a cigarette. Real stuff. It was not laughing. It was not symbolic. It was real marijuana that I used to get high for recreation as a kid, as a teenager. I did cocaine once. That was a real white powder. I was told it was cocaine. It did nothing for me, so I never tried anything like it again. It was not the symbolism I later found out it was. Okay, let me just skip ahead to tell you, as a kid at age 18, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia after I had sex and did drugs, and I had to take medication. I was still in the natural realm, all throughout my youth. In 1986, actually no, in 1985, in January of 85, I tried to kill myself after a lot of panic attacks, and I was a whole year in a hospital, first in the county hospital, then in the state hospital for a full year. Came out in 1986, quit smoking, was all straight, and I was pretty sick, but I decided at that time I would dedicate my life to working hard and rehabilitate myself, work hard, and help humanity in 1986. So basically, sort of rehabilitated myself by working in a kitchen in a mental health center where they trained me to work. And I worked about 4 hours a day for 3 days a week or so for about 20 cents an hour. But I worked hard. I cooked, I served, I took the money, I served the lunch, I took inventory, I stocked the shelves, I cleaned up, I washed the pots, I did everything in the kitchen, and I learned to work hard and have good work ethic. I never had one before that as a youth. But I learned to do it for basically for nothing. I started helping the seniors. I also had activities there, and I volunteered with, mind stimulation exercises with these seniors, arts and crafts, companionship. You get the picture. I also helped cook for them as well and clean up them. And I even get this, old men in wheelchairs. These are 80, 90-year-old men in wheelchairs. I even toileted ones who were paralyzed in a wheelchair, even wipe their butt, put them glove, wipe their butt, and, not because I like doing it, but because I basically care. I make sure they're taken care of. I also learned physical rehabilitation and helping them recover from broken hips and such. I also worked at a nursing home as a volunteer. Now, in 1988, Channel 13 public broadcasting system for New York City did a documentary about me, 20 minutes long, not a big one, basically called Howling to the Wind, Living with Mental Illness. And it was basically composed to make a statement for having the mental health centers in the community be supported instead of the hospitals, instead of the state hospitals. Um, in in um, in 1988, then I was basically hired as the first person to work at a peer counseling center, drop-in center from under collaborative support programs of New Jersey. And I was paid, $5 an hour, but much better than I was 20 cents as being paid before. I became a peer facilitator for the poor people in the county hub. It was a wealthy county, Bergen County, New Jersey, but I lived in the county hub, I worked in the county hub where, of course, the poor people were. And I got them served. There were homeless people there. And by the way, I'd been homeless myself in 1982 for 8 months. In the winter, I basically was homeless, slept on doorsteps and back seats of cars that were open. And I even spent a couple nights in Port Authority, New York City. I was homeless in Philadelphia that year in '82. I've experienced a little poverty and trouble in my life. Anyway, in 1988, there I am. I started helping homeless people at the shelter, at the peer counseling center, drop-in center I worked at. There are a lot of homeless people, and I basically joined the Interreligious Fellowship for the Homeless of Bergen County. And I was on their board of directors. I was also on their advocacy committee, which basically, when I did speeches, get people to donate to the Interreligious Fellowship. I told them what it's like to be homeless, what it's like to be mentally ill, etc. Furthermore, I helped them create a shelter in Bergen County, Hackensack, in around 1995 or so. They started Peter's Place in a church. I helped initiate that. I was instrumental in initiating that. I also co-founded the Alliance Against Homelessness, Bergen County, later called Bridgehaven Housing. And under my leadership, we were funded $1 million by HUD and by the state of New Jersey. We bought 4 group homes, and I started from the ground up. I initiated that organization. It still exists today, I believe. Now we started that in 1988. I basically wrote some grants. I didn't write $1 million grants, but I wrote grants getting us $2,000 for an initiative for helping put homeless people in shelters and in hotels and stuff. I also wrote a grant for the drop-in center, got them $10,000 for advocacy work with politics, which we did. We also got computers with it to help train people to use computers, learn how to research and such. So I've done my work. I've done plenty. Over the years, I had about 15 people, homeless people, most I didn't even know until I met them, and I let them live in my apartment or my place I was living at on the couch, and I let them live with me until I found them housing and an income that they could have permanent housing. I did this over the years, over a period maybe 10, 15 years. Each person stayed an average of like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, some as long as several months until they got themselves a job or some kind of income. And I found them housing. I found maybe 100 people housing over the years, individually and by myself, plus started the group homes, which helped another 20 people or more get housing. So I've helped humanity. I've done much more too. Now, let's skip over to 2004. I was accused of a crime I had nothing to do with. And I was basically, I was accused by a woman I'd helped for 10 years. I wasn't helping her anymore. I said, no, you're ungrateful. You're unappreciative. I'm not going to help you anymore. And 2 weeks later, I was accused of touching her child's chest. The child wouldn't go to court to say so because she knew I was innocent. But I pleaded guilty because the cops lie. Whose word stands more? Mine or the cops? And why did I plead guilty? Because I was given a plea bargain, a no time in prison. The prosecutor at first wanted to give me 3 years in prison. So when he said no prison, just be on parole, I jumped at it. No lawyer fee, half lawyer fee, a lot better. So I jumped at it, not knowing what parole would be like. I've never been paroled, never really was in such kind of trouble with the law. So I did not know what to expect, and I would have defended myself if I were now, if I know what it would be like. But basically, because my mom bought me a trailer in a trailer park, and I lived there, and I had 2 bedrooms. So I would rent out the other room. Other times, let people live there for free on the couch. Otherwise, And while I was in jail I was only in jail for 3 days before I was bailed out. But while I was in jail, I found I saw a Bible, and I thought a miracle happened. I gave credit to God for a miracle. Basically, I wasn't delusional anymore. Hallucinated a few times. I prayed to God and saw a Bible there, read a few pages, and the hallucinations went away presently. And I said God did it. I thought God did it. So I basically joined a church. I became a devout Christian. I read the Bible 2 hours every day. Studied it, not just reading. I studied it and I applied it to my life. I joined a church, and eventually I became a pillar in that church. It was Beth Israel Worship Center under Jonathan Kahn, Cahn, and he was also Jewish. He was Jews for Jesus type thing. He's very big. He's written some very big books. He's well known in the Christian community. But basically, I joined because he gave a good sermon. And under him, I studied the Bible. I followed the Bible. I applied it to my life. I was damn pure. Holy, I learned to have good integrity. But I'd already been avoiding sex. I knew better because I had sex last time was in 1981. I avoided it like the plague. I would not touch a woman. Would not come close to a woman. Why would they say I do with a child? Come on. But the police don't know these things. I started mentoring and teaching Bible in 2005. Mentored mentally ill people, adults, and taught them Bible, found them jobs in housing as well. And I was made the greeter of the church. It was a huge 900-member congregation, and Jonathan chose me to be his greeter, one of his greeters. The first people saw it Friday nights when they came in, for new people and for people welcoming the members. I also volunteered in other ways as well. I helped that church out a great deal. Okay, I was a Christian for over 10 years. Starting in 2005, I prepared 3 Bible studies a week. That was an extra 6 hours of work preparing the Bible studies. I taught these mentally ill people, mentored them, took care of them in every which way, developed their character, and made sure we all walked the walk. I walked the walk. I didn't just talk it, I walked it. I made myself pure, holy, and full of integrity. I love that Jesus. I love the Bible. I did what the Bible said to. I believed every word of it. Okay, that ended a little bit later. I'm going to go on, though. But before that, let me just go into tell you some more, though. After I was a peer facilitator, which I did for about 8-9 years until 1997, I became a case manager for ICMS, for Integrated Case Management Services. I was a professional, worked alongside with professionals with master's degrees. I have less than a year of college. So I saw we're all clueless. When I left, because I saw I was not helping people as much as I helped them when I was working as a peer counselor. When I was working for $5 an hour and did it on my way, I did a much better job with better results. These case managers, they got nothing good done. They were pretty useless. They didn't know what they were doing. Neither did I. And we all basically were flying around, not helping anybody. And starting in 1992, by the way, I was hired to lecture to graduate students of social work. Remember, I don't even have a year in college. And I was hired with pay, $100 a session. I would lecture them. I'd show the film. I would lecture them for about 20 minutes. And then I would answer questions extemporaneously. Also lecture them extemporaneously. And they did a good job. And the professor who hired me, Gene Yellen, was at Fordham University, which I later, many years later, found out was a Jesuit college. He was not Jesuit, but that class had nothing to do with Jesuits. But basically, he said it was a highlight of every one of his students' educational career. The one day a year I came in to lecture to them. And, he paid me well. He gave me $100, treated me dinner, paid for the bus, not for the bus, I took the car in. He paid for the bridge and for the parking, plus $100, plus a nice dinner every time I came in. And he was so grateful I was able to teach them so well. It really goes on mental illness, the best treatment, the best way to get people to take meds if necessary, and how to treat them mentally, how to gain their trust, and how to respect mentally ill people and to help them the best. Okay, now I've been okay. I lived in a trailer, and then I was a Christian, and then guess what? I studied that Bible 10,000 hours. And then starting around, also, by the way, when I became a Christian, I never had women go, they try to have sex with me all the time when I was not a Christian. But as soon as I became a Christian, 2 Christian women latched on to me. And I had a girlfriend for 4 years, and she left me, and I was, okay, good thing. But then I got another one, I tried to break up with her half a dozen times. She wouldn't let me. She became my fiance, and finally, and then in 2012, I started, I started having doctrinal debates. I just debated and debunked the dispensation of grace, which just about every Christian believes, eternal security, and pre-trib rapture. Buried them with my knowledge of the Bible. And I would have these debates online with scholars and evangelical leaders and such, and I got a huge following among Christians who saw that I was correct in my debates, that I was basically giving them new knowledge that they wouldn't have anywhere else, that I was able to debate while I had good pointers and was polite and respectful, at the same time buried those who came against me. And however, in 2012, late 2012, somebody in my church gave me some information that changed my life. And it was not a sermon. It was basically information about chemtrails, Monsanto, the Vatican, and the like. And it opened my eyes. Things are not what they seem. Now, I was also had my eyes open seeing that I studied that Bible. I know these pastors go to seminary. They know the Bible better than I do. Why are they teaching lies? And I see the people I trust the most were liars. And I came up with these 9 or 10 points against the church as a whole, not my congregation, every congregation. And the church saw this, and I found out later that this is read all over the world. And that churches like the Salvation Army, which I'll tell you about in a minute, but the Salvation Army changed whole policies due to that letter. Now, in 2012, I got these messages. I started researching. I also saw a video or two of witnesses videotaping cops killing unarmed blacks for no good reason. So I started looking for that, and I started dispensing that among my following of people who had built a huge following with my doctrinal debates. I showed them the cops killing unarmed blacks. These are people that were not on the media. This had never been shown on the media. I had no press circulation. I circulated it. And I started seeing this and found more and more. And eventually I exposed scores, literally scores, maybe 40, 50, 60 cops killing unarmed blacks that were not shown on the media. And this is to white suburban Christians who I was belonging with. This is not urban areas where the blacks know this. They see it all the time. This is white suburbia who don't know these things, who support the police. And then in 2013, 2014, I started seeing that the Bible was lies, that the real God of the Bible was Satan. I saw this through my pretty damn deep learnings. I did teachings and thinking, and I left the church I was in, and my fiance, she became, I saw the Bible was lies. I had oral sex with her. She manipulated. I did not want it. I don't like oral sex. It tastes fishy, disgusting, the whole idea of it. But she manipulated me. Yeah, holy Christian, okay. But anyway, and I was off my meds. As somebody diagnosed with schizophrenia, I was taking meds. As clear thinking and as functional as I was taking meds. And so I went off my meds for 4 months. My thinking was a little off. I was a little delusional as well. So I had a parole meeting. I went to parole as told to the day after I had sex, oral sex, and parole asked me, are you taking your meds? They weren't saying this because I was delusional or acting wrongly, but because they were supposed to ask me every time they'd forgotten to for a couple of months. So I told I'm always honest. I have full integrity. Knowing even when I know there's going to be terrible consequences, I tell the truth. I had integrity now for about 40 years. Or 35 years. So I basically, I told them, no, I haven't taken meds. They made me see a psychiatric professional. No problem. But they took me to the hospital just to make sure. In the hospital, after about a 3-hour wait, two psychiatrists came in and questioned me. They said, you're fine, but you got to see the senior psychiatrist. I waited 8 more hours. I missed appointments. I missed meals. I was bored as hell to wait in that room. And they basically, the doctor finally sauntered in like at 10, 11 o'clock at night and walked in the kid, like he's like 25 or so, got straight out of college. And I yelled at him for him being late. I screamed at him and yelled at him, cussed him. And he said I was bipolar. No questions asked, but I'm bipolar because I'm manic. I'm manic because I'm angry at him for making me wait 11 hours and missing appointments and, way to a hospital I went. And I was hospitalized for 3 months in Trenton State Psychiatric Hospital. After 2 months, for 2 months, the first 2 months I was not taking meds because I'd been diagnosed as bipolar. They wanted the wrong medication to give me. They had a wrong diagnosis. They trusted this one doctor who saw me for 2 minutes, didn't ask questions, and gave me the bipolar diagnosis. They wanted to give me Depakote or lithium. No, thank you. That's not my right meds. So finally, I convinced him I was not bipolar. That I was different schizoaffective or schizophrenic, and they gave me the right meds I'd been taking. And I was released after 3 weeks after taking the meds, after they finally diagnosed me correctly, after I corrected them. Now, just to let you know about Trenton State Hospital, it's not a psychiatric hospital, it's a chiropractic hospital. Why do I say that? Because I developed backbone there. How so? Because, say for one of the patients, his name is Sam, I forget his last name, he had been a leader of the Pagans. That's a motorcycle gang that the Hells Angels came out of. He'd been a leader of them, and he'd spent like 30 years in prison for murdering 2 or 3 men with his bare hands. He had been a professional fighter. He assaulted me a number of times. And I just would get up and forgive him because I was a Christian, and walk away. But finally, last time he hit me, my glasses went flying. I lost it. I went after him. I was ready to pummel him. 4 men held me back. And it took 4 men. And Sam, he just backed away. He knew he was in the wrong. But later I found out that he basically was teaching me to fight. He didn't want to harm me. He told me he was gonna get me while I was asleep, kill me while I was asleep. But I stayed awake a couple of nights. But no, he didn't. But he was not a bad guy. He probably would kill some people defending himself. The people he's with, gangs, Hells Angels, Pagan, So maybe prison changed him. I don't know, but he was not a bad man. He was developing. He basically showed me. He said, "Keep your hands in your pockets." What was he really telling me? Get ready to defend yourself, because I found, and I've been assaulted altogether 30 times in my life. Most of the time, I had 28 of them in the past 7 years. Now I'm 64 years old now, so you figure this out. So I'm basically all of them, all about like 9/10 of them were sucker punches by men twice my size and half my age. And I basically learned to defend myself, because at first, as a Christian, I just would walk away, forgive them, and they would go on hitting me. Not the right way, but I'm saying in other instances, cases. But I found when you defend yourself, they respect you and they leave you alone. Christianity, turn the other cheek, is not smart and not good, not real. Defending yourself takes courage, and understand something. Even at the age of 64 years old, I'm still in the natural realm. I haven't had intercourse since 1981. I take psychiatric meds, but I'm still in the natural realm. I only know about the hell realm, the worldly realm, from being in an institution where I was brought down into. So understand, I was taught there to defend myself, to overcome obstacles. Okay, you get the picture. That was a chiropractic institution. Yeah, and I liked it. No, I hated every minute, but I'm seeing what they did. Okay, now in 2014, I come out, and and understand, I saw the Bible's lies. I had the sex because the Bible's lies. Why should I follow it? I wasn't thinking very clear. It was off med, But there's 2 things now I see that bring people into hell. One is sex, and the other is Christianity. And I've studied well. I know it. I know the symbolism. I know what symbolism does. Use drugs. It destroys the mind. And I know the spells that it casts on people to mislead and misguide in every which way, and enable pastors to lie and mislead the people, as they're all tools for the Vatican. Now, in 2015, I was out now, and I'm not with the church anymore. I saw the Bible's lies. I left the faith. And by the way, Freemasonry is simply knowing you're worshiping Satan as God. And you don't think it's Jehovah anymore. Now you know it's Satan. And Christianity, they worship the same God, Satan, but some of them think they're worshiping Jehovah. They don't know it's Satan. They don't know it's the same God, but most of them do. That's Freemasons. Basically, Christianity or any other religion, knowing your God you're worshiping is the evil entity he really is. But basically, in 2015, I started to. I basically was still debating my friends about the Bible and other things, and my ex-friends, my former Christian friends, and they were still with me. A lot of them were still with me, but I was debating on winning the debates, debunking all this stuff. But they're leaving me one by one. They see I'm not with them anymore, and finally, they insulted me. They got low down, insulted me. I got angry and said, and my sister, who I tried to be with, I also called her up, and by the way, I was offered $33 million by 3 different people. One person offered me $20 million. I later found out it was my pastor, who I debunked. And also Walmart was going to give me $8 million, and a woman was going to give me $5 million. And I was also, the Republican Party contacted me. They wanted me to run for governor. But I refuse the Republican Party. I know politicians are about. I don't want nothing to do with them. The money disappeared when I left the faith. Nobody wanted to support me anymore. Now I'm supported by the government check. But I'm just saying nobody wanted to give me all the millions they want to give me as a Christian for my ministry I was going to have. So, okay, let's go on. I'm also researching conspiracy theories like chemtrails and the Vatican, all this. And I'm seeing the truth in them, and I'm writing. I'm figuring all these things out. I'm seeing things that are not what they seem. The pastors I trusted the most, they're liars and phonies. They're not pure holy. They're millionaires. They love their money and their wine and their celebrity and all this. I saw that politicians are crummy liars. And I saw cops are liars and murderers. The people you trust most are the worst. And I'm looking at this and I'm starting to think a little bit. I see all the materialism going on. I see how they're teaching drugs on television everywhere else and what they're promoting sex and the worst things. I threw out television in 2004. I stopped watching television. I've not watched television at home since 2004. Instead, I study and research. That's why I think so well. That's why I have knowledge. Because I don't waste my time being misled, misguided, and wrong values, mindsets, and worldviews on the television. Instead, I research, watch documentaries, and read, and all that. Now, in 2015, my sister was in Florida, called her up. She didn't tell me she's in Florida. She said she was out, but she said she was too busy. She couldn't talk to me. I called her up like 5 times. I was desperate. My friends had insulted me. I was angry. And finally, she hung me 5 times. So I threatened her and said, if you don't talk to me for 10 lousy minutes, I'll put your house on fire. Not with you in it, but I threatened her property. And she was in Florida. It turned out, but she did have time. She didn't have time to talk to me. She listened to my message, though, and took the time to call the police and tell them to put me away. She's afraid for her property. She knows I would never hurt her or her property, but she wants to make sure. So for my good, as she put it, they put me away in a hospital for 6 months, again in Trenton State for 6 months. Now, I understand something. There is a purgatory. That's what Trenton State was. It was a realm halfway between hell and my natural realm, the good realm I'm in now. Yeah, I was down there for quite a few months, and I was about to be released after like 3 or 4 months. They kept me in 2 extra months. They said I violated a Catholic law. They wouldn't tell me what it was. They said it was better. I didn't know because it would bring me into another realm, to this kind of thinking. Understand, this is very real. And so whatever. I learned to fight. I learned to think on my own. But while I was there, and this is 2015, while I was in the hospital, I wrote almost all of Exposing the Money Machine. And that's where I basically turned totally away from the Bible, threw the Bible away, saw it was a book of satanic measures. And I also had many visions, so hieroglyphics, pyramids, the Sphinx, Satan, so a lot of stuff. And I'm certainly not going to deny there's a God. The God is Satan, Jehovah, same thing. All the same evil character. But I basically turned away from religion, saw what it was about, and started studying science. And now I also debunked a lot of science. I debunked evolution. I debunked what we know about the Nazis. They were real Nazis. They really did kill Jews and all that. But they were led by the Vatican. They were supported by the Vatican. I found much more information. It's in my books. But Exposed Money Machine, I wrote it while I was in the hospital, and then I finished it in January 2016. I got out, and I was not welcomed back to my trailer in a trailer park. I had to give it to the park because unpaid rent, being in the hospital. They only let me back for 10 minutes, collect what I could in 10 minutes, and I had to leave. So I basically lived with a friend for a couple of months. Then I basically found a place and moved out. That was the first time I lost all my property. I lost my car as well. I lost it all. But I lost my possessions again another time. Now that's 2016 now. I also wrote in that January, 2 weeks in January, I finished half my book, The Untold Nature of Christianity. And I was still exposing cops killing unarmed blacks. I went online in the internet with a worldwide federation of Christians and convinced them to support BLM, the Black Lives Civil Rights Movement, against the cops. BLM, Black Lives Matter. Then in July or August, and my book was published in May of 2016 by a self-publishing Libris publishers. They basically just helped me self-publish the book. And in July or August, I forget what it was exactly, an intelligence agent went through my computer and files. I was told shortly later I would be going to prison. Didn't believe it, but I certainly did go. In September, my sister put a restraining order on me with lies. Yeah, I threatened her property, but she put a lot of lies. And I didn't really fight in court. It would be hearsay what he said, she said. Who's going to believe me? So you had to put a restraining order on me. I didn't realize it. That was a parole violation, and it turned out she had worked out with the government. And I saw that I was giving notes to my parole officer. I saw that he had contact with her several times. And basically, they had arranged that she would lie, put me in prison. She would collect the entire will, my portion of the will, which is $1 million or so. I got nothing out of it. And my mom wanted me to have at least half of it. My mom was worth over $2 million, but my sister, by putting a restraining order on me, kept the whole will. And parole got me in prison for writing exposing the money machine, exposed the government and the people above it. And I was put in prison. I was in what they call craft, which is where they decide what prison you're going to go to. And the prison guards there, all the inmates faced the wall when they had me walk by. And they told me, the guard told me when I entered the prison and I was in the solitary confinement, they put you first before you go into prison into the unit. They decide what unit you're going to go to. But basically, they told me. They were looking up what I did. They told me what I did when I was like 12 years old, 13 years old. They researched everything about me. They told me they're investigating all my affiliates. They put me in a cell with a Mossad agent and with the military intelligence. They watched me closely. They told me they were looking to see how the book sells. So you see what's going on here. Now, I appealed the decision for the restraining order and all that. Twice. Then they let me go after 8.5 months. I had a year sentence. They let me go a little early. Why? They saw I was squeaky clean. And by the way, I'd written a 35-page document written up of solutions to every world problem. I'm not a stupid guy. These are simple solutions, and these solutions were outside the boxes. So, why? Know what else they told me? They told me there had been one falsehood in that book, one lie, I would have been dead. Okay. Now, while I was there, after about 6 months or so, and every day I would go to the guards and tell them what I thought about police. And it ain't good. I hate police. I know what they're up to. I've done my research, and I know what police are about. Now, I told them every day, how can you live like the black guards? How can you live with yourself doing this to your own people? How can you guys are corrupt, you're phonies, you're parading like the good guy, So I would tell them. And finally, one day they ransacked me, and I had good roommates except for the Mossad agent. He even wasn't so bad. But they ransacked the room one day after I insulted the cops guard one day. They ransacked the room and over everything, tore up everything. And the very next day, they had a so-called routine search. And they found a shank in my bunkie's locker. They thought it was my locker, but now I know my bunkie. He would not have a shank. I certainly don't either. So basically, what was it? It was a plant, and we both were taking what they call Segway in Trenton State Prison, and that's basically like 3 floors of solitary confinement, and every open cells, and it's weird. It's hot. That was in the summer. There was no air conditioning. It was hot. The fans was damn hot. But while I was there was this big guy, and everybody seemed to respect him deeply, and they're all go, yeah. And it turned out I found he was a Sunni revolutionary. But then they knew who I was, though. They said, hey, Khan, you guys supposed to carry guns and fight for you? What are you about? What good are you? What give us reason why we should support what you do? So I gave him my ideas, gave him what I know and my ideas. You never heard a prisoner rock so loudly. That Sunni revolutionary who they loved, he looked like a little wimp compared to what they did with me. They were rocking, shouting and screaming and banging up everything. Yeah. Get those damn cops, get those damn politicians. Yeah. We have an angry bunch of people in this country. My books have exposed much more since then. I have more ideas since then. Now, okay, when prison let me out and asked me to release me to a shelter in Newark, because I lived with blacks at first. I remember I'm from white Christian suburbia. And so basically, when I was in prison, I lived with blacks for the first time in extended time. And I saw what their character was. I saw their culture. I saw their music. So I asked to be released to Newark, the biggest and most, one of the most poorest, but one of the biggest city in New Jersey. And I asked them to go to a certain shelter that I'd been recommended by my bunkie. So what did they do? They released me to the streets. Not even a shelter. Damn social worker. That's illegal, but that's what they did. And they also, by the way, I checked my medication. They give me medication. They gave me the wrong meds 5 times. And I don't think they'd make a simple mistake like that. That's easy to see what you're doing. I think that was intentional. I made sure they wouldn't poison me. But they also, because I wouldn't kowtow to the damn prison, spoke up to the guards every day. They forced what they knew were bad meds, lithium, on me. They knew I wasn't bipolar. They knew that well. They gave it to me, and it took away my will to exercise, my will to eat. I lost about 25 pounds in like 3 months of that lithium. I lost my will to eat. So pretty damn bad. But I got off as soon as I got out. But when I was out in the streets in Newark, I looked for about half a dozen shelters. 3 of them accepted me. Every time I went to the shelter, they'd say, okay, come back at night, and I told them, parole, hey, I got a shelter, got a place to live. Check out, make sure it's okay. And each time when I went back that night, the shelter told me that they wouldn't accept me after all. Then after a few days, the parole said, look, you have no address. That's a parole violation. We can take you to jail for a little while. So I said, okay. But instead of taking me to jail, they took me to a psych hospital. And while I waited, it's a hospital. It was a regular, also a medical hospital. I told all the patients, and they knew who I was by now, because Newark got familiar with me real quick. They called me the WikiLeaks truck. I told them about the medical field, because I've done my research. If you read Angry, Loud, and Clear Truth, you would see I know a little bit. Yeah, I debunked the medical field. So after a few hours, out comes a woman in a white coat. She says, where's Michael Kahn? And I said, yeah, here I am. That's me. She said, you are bipolar. You're going up to the psych unit. And I said, well, please, no, wait a minute. Interview me first. Find out the truth. They lied. Every which way lied to get me in there. And then I lost all respect for the psychiatric community, and I wouldn't take meds because I saw what they were up to. Or I didn't see, I thought I saw what they were up to. Now, basically, then there was a commitment court hearing, which I didn't know about, but they took me to the commitment court hearing. I had all these papers to defend myself with. And in comes parole. And he was accusing me of the crime from 2004. What the heck for? This is 2000, at the time, 2017. Why doing that? But I went up to defend myself. As I stated before, I said one word. 5 men rushed me out of the courtroom, out of the room that they had the court in. They wouldn't let me say one word in my defense. And they committed me to Trenton State Hospital again. Okay, now you're getting to see the picture here, what's going on with this. Okay, now in Trenton State Hospital now, they put me in a drug unit. Why? Because when I joined parole, I told them I'd done marijuana and cocaine once, seen marijuana as a kid, used a whole lot. They thought I was like a drug addict. Because I'd done it as a teenager, they thought I knew drugs. I did not know what drugs were then. I found out in that drug unit, with all the symbolic talk and garbage from all these drug addicts in my ears. I learned it. I'm not a stupid person. I learned what my meanings were. And then they did their voodoo, Okay, now listen. Trenton State Psychiatric Hospital is a state institution. It's very good. It works for people. It's a hell. Nobody wants to be there. But it corrects you in every which way. Makes you think clearly. It gives you a backbone. They study you very carefully, see how you react. They give you all kinds of terrible circumstances to see how you react. They train you in many ways to have proper backbone and to be strong. But it's hell. And by the way, I was getting off meds. I wouldn't trust the psychs anymore after being this going on. So for about 4 weeks, I wouldn't sleep. I was getting off of the meds. I couldn't sleep. And being that all the chairs were in the television room, I don't watch television, I walked for 4 weeks straight, no sleep. And I basically was so much pain in my legs, I could not bend over, put my pants on even, or take them off, because the pain. and I wasn't sleeping. I didn't die from that. But damn it, it wasn't comfortable, and I had all kinds of people ridicule me. And now, Trinity has a place to is. They're in the state, and they're also helping me. 95% of their staff are black, and half of them are from Nigeria. These are revolutionists. These are not stupid people. They know what they're doing. Now, they played both sides. The state who employed them, and they wanted to support me because they saw my character. They knew my writings. Now, there's some more things here you really got to hear about. One of this patients, and this patient had a lot of privileges. He was always talking, this mucky muck for the hospital was constantly talking with him, an important guy, and the hospital was talking with him. He told, this guy was pretty bad. He beat me up a couple of times, but he also told me that he'd been told to kill me. But he told me he wouldn't because I'd been good to him. Now, furthermore, one day I was in my room, and very few people have their own room. I got my own room after a while. I earned it. They saw my character. They saw how I supported poor people, helped people out, was good, and at the same time was smart. But get this. One day I had a vision. And and I was not asleep. I was like I was sitting on the bed. And I saw a book. And there's books, the pages were turning. On this book were letters, like a little space in between each letter. A, B, C, like, but not in order. Some of these letters had circles on them. Some the focus came in, like went closer and went back. Then page to page was flipping over. What is this crazy vision? So I went to two different Christian guards, aides. Went to two different aides there and gave them both asked them both what this was about, described what it was about, and both gave me the same answer because they told me that God was reviewing my prayers and letters. Now, what's that referred to? Well, I was there in that hospital. I called the New York Times because I read the Times, was watching what was going on in the news, and I saw some things that are happening. I told them some of the information I had, and I figured things out. And I basically told them to research. I gave them my email address and my password so they could look at my emails and show them that this thing about Trump and Russia are nonsense, and that debunking the news media, much more information I had. And also, I gave my one friend left, who was not in the church, but basically, I gave him my email and my password, and told him to put it all over the place what my email was about, to inform people, because I saw what was going on outside, which I couldn't do anything about giving new emails. I had no access to internet, but I wanted people to know some information. So basically, my email letters and all this stuff was put out there for the public to see. And by the way, one thing, that was in 2017. That was around October, November 2017. So understand. Right about then was the New York Times put out the word saying that some people on the internet who were basically exposing the truth, who were not, were not connected to the journalists, whatever. So they're basically showing the truth. But basically, my letters were being read by the people, and they were seeing how good I was, and they were deciding to keep me in the same realm, to do what it takes to have me as a leader. And the hospital saw that they made a mistake, put me on a drug unit, but they told me they'd release me just to talk to my parole officer. So I call up, so there we are on the phone, and he tells me I got to go to a group home. I know these group homes are about. You can't do anything. There's no freedom there. I said, no. I start cussing him, saying, get the hell out of here. I want my apartment back, or I want an apartment, or a shelter even, but no damn group home. Well, then they put me in a back unit of the hospital, and I was there for 18 months. Turns out, if you're in a group home, you have to be there for 24 months. If you're a drug addict, to get free drugs. But in the hospital, it takes 18 months, not 24. So I was there for an additional 18 months on a back unit of the hospital because they'd show me drugs, but also being that they're playing both sides, and they saw how good I was, they saw my character, they get me a lot of information, trained me. Now, they had guys beating me up. They had intelligent men debating me. They gave me access to 2 libraries with books that were, I'm sure, were handpicked by these revolutionaries. They gave me access to a catalog of African world books. I read about 30 books in their library. I ordered like 24 more. I read they gave me the New York Times every day. I had my own room after a while, but the men were sexing me. I did not want sex. I don't want male or female sex. They were thinking about me sexually, against my will, but not physically, but you get the picture. And they forced the wrong meds on me. I had no access to lawyers. The whole thing. They gave me obstacles that were almost impossible to overcome. But they basically told me I have hope when all hope is gone. To have courage to come against the greatest obstacles, the most powerful people in the world. And I've been beat up by men at least twice my size. I don't back down anymore. I will chase them down. You just get up. I was taken down the ground. Each time they hit me, I would fall on the ground. I would get back up real quick and come after them. They would just back away. I had no need to fight them. If they're going to back away, I'm not going to hit them. So, I learned, something. It hurts more to back away than it does to have your nose broken. I've had a broken jaw, fractured arm, bloody nose, fractured ribs, but it hurts more to your pride if you back away. Now, all of this, I learned so much more. And I learned symbolism. I also learned not to use it, not to think about it. So it's a good servant to you to learn, but it also can be a terrible master. So basically, I've learned a lot. I am a hybrid, half in the natural realm. I also am aware of the worldly realm. I'm not under God's jurisdiction. He has no place over me. I'm not in the pain realm. And I have a lot of knowledge. I've done my research and reading and figuring out things for myself. I didn't go to lots of years college. I have less than a year college behind me, but there's no seminary professor on the planet could out-debate me on several subjects. I've debunked the medical science, allopathic medical system. I've debunked evolution independently. I've shown a lot of information that people did not know, and I figured things out for myself. Because I saw you cannot trust the so-called experts and professionals. Now, let me go on. By the way, and let's go back to the Trenton State Prison. First of all, one time, they took me to see a doctor. They had half a dozen men escort me wearing helmets, and they had their sticks, and they're brandishing their sticks. Half a dozen men extra. I saw what they're going to do. I'd been coming this way. I got an officer and told him who I was, what I was about. He knew conspiracy theories. He knew the truth in them. He knew who I was. He dismissed those 6 men with their sticks, and he took me back himself. And by the way, when I was in the cell there, I heard a chanting from the bottom floor. After a few days, they took me to the top floor there, and they gave me a couple cushions in my bed, 2 cushions in my bed. I had the best bed there in the whole jail, probably. But I would hear this chanting going on. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I thought there was some Spanish men chanting night and day. I don't know how they did or how they could do it, but that's what I thought. But then one night, soon before I was released, or taken back to Southwoods, the regular prison, somebody made a statement outside. It was like an accusation of me. And for a while, the way they worded it, for a while, I was wondering, did I do that? I mean, how could I do that? Was that really me? And all of a sudden, this chanting, which seemed to be coming from 2 floors below me, seemed to be coming from my room. Then it was close, it was loud. And then I said, wait, no, I didn't do that. Don't even think that. I know myself better. Why'd it make me question me? I'm righteous and good. I wouldn't do that. The chanting disappeared. There's another realm out there. It's for evildoers. And they thought that's what I was. I'm more righteous than any man alive, I believe. I don't know this, because of course I don't know everybody, but I'm damn righteous. I've been fighting for righteousness and goodness with courage and truth and integrity for years. And when I do wrong, I will admit it. And I've lied. I can count on one hand how many times I've lied in the past 10, 15 years. So understand. I fight for what's right and good. Even when and I will tell the truth, even when there's consequences. And Pearl has asked me if I've been on the internet. I'm not supposed to be on the internet due to some conditions they put on me with lies, and they're illegal conditions with lying justifications. I basically have laws that support it. If they want to accuse me again, I have constitutional laws to protect my right to do this. I don't go on social networking, but I certainly do go on the internet. And before I had these laws, I told them, yeah, I've been on the internet. Because they asked me, and I knew it could put me in prison. I told them. And even when the judge came and says, how do you plead innocent or guilty? I said, guilty. And this is without a plea bargain. But he said, look, I'm going to look into this. because I would be put away for 10 years. And I had a good judge. I didn't know this, but he wanted to make sure he saw I was telling the truth. He wanted to see the real situation. And I basically, I got off that because I was righteous. I did nothing wrong on the internet. I have every right to be on the internet. And guess what? I don't do anything wrong on the internet except research and give out the truth to millions of people. Why? Because I seek to do what's right and good. Now listen to this. This is a highly important thing to find out. When I was in Trenton State Hospital, one day, one of the patients, I understand, there are people came from all over the country. And they found out I was in Trenton State Hospital. Many people found out, and they went to the hospital to train me. People who had knowledge and were actors who knew how to train me correctly. If you go to a prison, there are inmates who are there to help the real criminals, to correct them and to watch over and see how good they are to help them correct themselves. But so the same thing with a lot of patients in psychiatric units are people there to help people like me to overcome the obstacles of mental illness. And there are people there, and Sam, or I just talked about that pagan, he basically had told me when he got there, he said that he had researched everything about me, read my books, my writings, and he said he was there to see me. And know what else? He wanted to be my bodyguard because he knew I would be in danger. I basically said, no, thanks. You're in your 60s, you're an old man, you're not so quick, you're a tough guy, you have a good heart, you taught me well, but how are you going to protect me? You're like in your late 60s, you're a little slow. You're not so nimble, you're an old man. How are you going to protect me from a lot of youth with guns and stuff? Come on, guy, you're going to get killed yourself. But basically, they were training me. They'd read my books. They were training me. And in there, now, Trenton State Hospital things are not what they seem. There was a television room there. And one day, one of the patients kicked out everybody else out of the room but me. He closed the curtains to the room, to all the windows. Then he put on C-SPAN on the television. And right then on came the FBI, the leadership, Ray, and others. And I swear, we had a two-way conversation, me and Ray. He thanked me for my service, writing and research, And then he asked me a few questions, suggestions. Now, understand, the FBI, we see they're no good. Mueller and the rest, they're garbage. They don't protect the people. But their hands are tied. There's some good ones there, and their hands are tied. They have no power. They have to kowtow to the real rulers. And he asked me a suggestion. I told him, look, I see you guys aren't doing nothing. Leave it to people like me. And have some people out there expose what's really going on to the people to protect ourselves. Because no government agency will get anywhere. And you know it, and I do too. And that is what's happening now. Now, these people may get in trouble with me revealing all this, but this is out there now for you all to see. I've been trained. I can cut through the bull. Why? Because they play voodoo on me. Remember these Nigerians, Haitians, all the rest? They lied, deceived, and tried every voodoo trick there was to make me invincible against all the lies and gas put out there, flatulent lies and deceptions, manipulations of the media and the politicians, the doctors. Everybody's a damn liar out to make money and power for the very rich and take it away from you. Except the good ones out there, they train somebody to do what they could not because they're positioned. Okay. There are two libraries of catalog. I read a lot of good books. And you got to realize, okay. Okay, I'm going to go on last bit here. A little bit more. Oh, okay. I got a Trenton State Hospital. And I was basically released to Newark. They got me a nice apartment, rent subsidy, all fixed up. I bought a car, got ready. And what happens? I wanted to start a bank account, start my ministry, my work, my mission. Basically, revolution. I'm a revolutionary. Made it very clear. I don't hide. I'm not under the radar. I made it very clear. Everything I'm about, I'm on top. I'm above board. I will tell you everything there is to know about me and anything else. And if you're watching this attached to a newsletter, today's newsletter, I'm attaching quite a few documents regarding the crimes I'm charged with, my defense, what happened, and what's really going on. All about me. Now, I was released, and I went to a bank to credit union to open up a bank account for my organization. I start up there, which Truth Force International LLC, and I formed the organization, and they wouldn't open up for me, and basically I complained. I went for like 3 weeks to go there, open up that bank account, and they kept on refusing me. They said they'd get it done when, but they never did. Finally, I called the manager of one of the branches, and he hung up with me 3 times. I was furious. I thought this was an emergency. I had to get it done now. I threatened him. I said, put a bomb there, motherfucker. Of course I know intent. I don't know bombs. I know nothing about them. I can't do that. I know intention. I was just angry I had to say that like a dummy. Well, he calls the police. 2 weeks later, they arrested me. I'd forgotten about it. Went to another credit union, got another account. Oh, that was all okay. But 2 weeks later, arrested me. All that time. Now, if I was going to plant a bomb, don't you think I would have done it before then if I was going to? But no, the police got arrested. They put me away in jail. And in jail, I wanted to be with the inmates because I wanted to make friends. I'm in a new town. I never lived in Newark before. Yes, for a few days when I was homeless, but I want to be the people. I want to be the inmates, but they put me in solitary confinement in a psychiatric unit without being interviewed by a psychiatrist. They did it because they want to put me in solitary confinement as punishment for hating cops. But what I do, I got a radio and I survived. Yeah, more sex, and that's where I learned to use the N word for the first time because sex and with men, I don't want that. And also, one of the guys took some urine and crap and poured and mixed it and poured it under my door into my room, and it smelled like hell. And nobody did a thing about it. But I was there for 6 months, got out. Okay, I'm fine. But while I was there, the police towed my car and had it destroyed. And I basically lost my rent subsidy I was in there. So I was there for another few months. After 6 months, got out. Was in New York for another few months. Then I had to downsize because I couldn't afford rent. I lost my rent subsidy. So I downsized to my little apartment I have now. And by the way, my book, Angry, Loud, and Clear Truth, was written while I was in Trenton State Psychiatric Hospital. I wrote half of it there, and the other second half I wrote upon coming out. And I also typed up get this, all three of my books, Exposing the Money Machine and Truth and Angry, Loud, and Clear Truth, I did completely on my own. And Angry, Loud, and Clear Truth didn't even have an editor. I did it all, everything, research, writing, editing, put it on the internet, everything. Exposing the Money Machine, I had help with the editing and the Anti-Age Christianity. A few people gave me suggestions of scripture to use to add addition. So I basically put out when I was doing the Anti-Age Christianity, I put out there in its unfinished form, let people give me their reactions. They add some scriptures, help me out a little bit. Now get this, I put out Exposing the Money Machine and the Untold Age of Christianity in halfway finished form out on emails, and these emails go viral. I had a contact list then of 100 people, all devout Christians. Well, I was in prison then in Southwoods. Around December of 2016, I was told 130,000 atheists had visited my website. I only knew devout Christians. So all their friends were all Christians most likely. So I had about 130,000 people left the faith within a few months before the book was even finished. So you think it's a little powerful? I think so. My writings are factual and scientific. Now, I gave you my history. I have an income of $1,500 a month from the government, over $1,500. It gave me a big raise this past year, 5.9% increase in the SSD check. They mean SSD check. I told them keep it working, but I have to take meds. They give me the check anyway. They know I serve the people. They know I volunteer. So I keep on getting the check. Now, I live off that. I work 80 hours a week, researching and writing. I risk my life and freedom every day. I live in a basement apartment. I like a basement. It's cool in the summer, cold in the winter too, but I have a space heater, so I'm okay. I don't even have a stove. I have a hot plate and a toaster oven. I live in one room. It's a nice, comfortable, big room, 12 by 15. It's a nice room. I love where I live. But if it rains and there's no electricity for the sun pump or for the water vacuum, then I will have a flood. It'll be quite deep. It'll be several inches deep if it rains, and again, without the electric being on, and electric will be turned off. I don't have a car. I can't afford that. There's a bus stop a half a block away. Fine, okay, I'm set. But would be nice to have a car and have a place to live where I won't be flooded when electricity goes out. I'm asking that if everybody who gets this video and reads the newsletter, if everyone who bought one of my books for a lousy $3 on the internet, or paid more for the print copy, if everyone did that, I would be set for life. I've worked 80 hours a week for years for the people for free. Worked to support what I'm doing for the people. I don't get money for this. I made about $100 on my books, for those royalties. A lot of books were bought and donations given back in 2007 and 19 and 18 when I was in jail and all that, and before that. But when I came out, because the Christians all abandoned me, I got angry and insulted Christianity and gave out some hate against Christianity. And they took away my money because that the website eliminated the pages and removed all evidence. The bank took it because I came against Christianity. I lost well over $1 million. My sister stole over $1 million. $33 million promised me disappeared. I have had help from nobody. I got $150 towards a car from my last Christian friend. Nobody else helped me. An iota. I've been homeless. I've been in prison. Nobody visited. Well, one person visited me. He stole my money. The money I had. That's why I don't have a car, because he took my money. I gave my debit card to pay my rent with, and then he stole my money. So he's not my friend anymore. So I have no friends, no family. If something happens to me, I'm helpless. So I have nobody. Nobody to contact, nobody to help me, and I haven't for a while. My last friends left me. I had one friend I used to talk to on the phone. He wouldn't see me, but he left because I debunked the Bible, and he couldn't take that anymore. So I have nobody in my life. No friends, no family, nothing. No support, no monetary support except for the government SSD check, which is quite small, but sufficient. I get what I'm doing here in this, where I live in, it's sufficient. But it'd be nice to have a car to go get the food I want, or go to a library, or if I want to do something, I'm okay with it. I'm not saying it is required. I do have an income. But if something happens to me, I'm helpless. If I'm put in prison, I have no bail. If I need something, of any kind, I have no money for it. I have enough for rent, food, and extras, but I need a little money just in case. So if everybody who's been getting these newsletters for years for free, or read my books, which I attach to my newsletters for free, you need some money for my hard work, and I do work hard, 80 hours a week. I've earned. I've been beat up 30 times. I've been beat up for this work. I've been imprisoned for this work. Lost my freedom. I've been damaged with bad chemicals. I've had fractured bones. Now understand, I am fine where I am. I have no complaints, but it could get worse, and it would be a plus to have more. A plus. Is it necessary? No, I will not lie to you. No. I can get by. But who knows what's in the future. And if there's enough, I can be blessing to other people too, which would be nice if I could help support other people. I've got that in my heart. I've done it for 35 years serving humanity. And nobody has given me what I deserve for doing that. Except I'm still in the natural realm, which I'm thankful for. I'm out of Christianity, which I'm thankful for. My friends, they may not have helped me with money or with their presence, but they made me famous. They spread my word out everywhere. So, are Christians bad? Not all are bad. There's many, many, many good Christians. The pastors, not so good. The evangelizers, not so good. They're pretty terrible, bringing people into hell realm. Especially the pastors. I'm lying shit. But, the word's out there. People. You see my character. I'm attaching documents about my arrests and charges and all the truth I knew with them. There's some embarrassing things there. I'm not a criminal nature. And you'll see for yourself the righteousness in me. I'm a tough character. I've been through hell. I have some courage to me. I have some smarts to me, a lot of knowledge. I think of my own. I'm an original thinker, authentic. I'm a free thinker. Who stands with me? TruthForceInternational.org. Again, my website is TruthForceInternational.org. My books are The Untold Nature of Christianity, Exposing the Money Machine, and Angry, Loud, and Clear Truth. They are on Amazon for sale. My name is spelled Michael Lewis Kahn, and Kahn is spelled Kahn. Here is all out there for you to see. The truth about me, who I am, what I've done, what I've been through, and what I stand for. In my last video that went out just yesterday, it was a pretty damn good one. And now you see me and who I am, what I'm about. You hear it all. I ain't hiding nothing. I have other videos on my website, my YouTube channel rather, not my website, my YouTube channel, that have more description of me. I've been through a little bit. Have a great day. You be well.